Today, we'd like to shout out this season's title sponsor, Falcon Tires, who's celebrating 40 years of ultra-high performance this year. For 4 decades, Falcon's been pushing the boundaries of performance, both on and off the track. With a relentless pursuit of innovation, Falcon has become a dominant force in the world of motorsports and high-performance tire technology. With 5 drift championships in 18 years and an abundance of motorsports wins both domestic and abroad, from professional series to grassroots events, Falcon's Azenis tires have established themselves as tires of choice for competitive drivers around the world.
Whether you're a weekend warrior or a professional driver, Falcon has the perfect tire for you. Their ultra-high-performance Azenis lineup includes the DOT-approved Azenis RT660 that helps you chase the ultimate lap time without having to swap tires before each track day, and the all-new, all-season tire, the Azenis FK460, that blends the versatility you demand of an all-season tire with the excitement you expect from Azenis. Go experience the thrill of the track in your everyday drive with Falcon Tires, where innovation meets performance. Learn more about their entire lineup at falcontire.com.
You're listening to the Sil 80 Mania Podcast Season 2, brought to you by Falcon Tires. Here we document the history of drifting by interviewing the OGs and trendsetters of drifting culture. Welcome to the Sil 80 Mania Podcast. I'm your host, Benson Sue, and I'm joined by my co-host, Nadine Sue.
Hey, honey buns.
Hey. And also, we've got our audio-video wizard, Mark Mondoy. What's up, Mark?
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hey, Mark. Welcome back.
Welcome back. We've been gone for like a year. Is
no,
that
we
right?
haven't.
It feels like a long time. I think it has been a year.
You've been playing around with story time.
I've been messing around. No, but we're the whole gang's back together, and we are going to start season 2. I'm so excited for this.
Yes, I'm excited. And do you guys like our new setup?
Yeah, we got a new set. If you're watching on Spotify video or YouTube, you can check out our new set. We've got some lighting. We got some multiple cameras here. We got we got our experienced videographers and photographers in to set up this nice set with depth of field and lighting, and it's pretty fancy.
Yeah. It looks really fancy. I feel like we could do better.
We can definitely do better, but
work in progress. Work in progress.
Right.
Yeah, work in progress. Yeah, for sure.
So I'm proud of it. I think we look legit.
Yeah, we always did. But
we look legitter.
Yeah, is legit a word?
No, it's not a word.
Stop.
It's the word of the day, legitter.
Oh my God. Well, I'm excited to kick off this first episode of the season with our guest, and we're going to do something fun. So I'm ready for you. Don't worry about it. Just do the announcement. Just do the intro.
Okay. I'm going to intro our guest. We got a longtime friend of mine who I met on the internet. He's my internet friend.
Damn, you and your internet friends. You met me on the internet too. Is this how you
I met Mark on the internet too.
Oh, damn.
I only make friends on the internet.
This is how Benson obtains the people
This is how I gather my friends.
Oh my God. That sounds really creepy.
Just another notch on my belt. So
what the hell?
I have this gentleman I met on the internet, but it was in the early days of drifting where, there wasn't a whole lot of drifting websites out there. And so when there was another one out there, you connected right away. You made the conversation with this person. You reached out and you shared your common interest in Japanese culture and drifting and, Option Magazine and all that stuff. Turns out he ended up becoming a pioneer of drifting in the USA, specifically in the Midwest in Chicago. He did a lot for the area, helped start Club FR, who held several events. He did a bunch of stuff with, trying to pursue his career in Formula D, pro drifting. Then he went to Japan. He did a lot of stuff, and we're going to talk about all of that today. But I feel like this guy is important to U.S. drifting history, drifting culture. And so it's my honor to introduce Rob Reiter to the show. What's up, Rob?
Hey,
how's it going, guys?
Welcome.
Good to be here.
Welcome,
Yeah.
Rob. Before
to
we
be
get
here.
any
Thank you.
further, you're going to help us pop a bottle to celebrate
Awesome.
being the first guest of the season.
What an
So not
honor.
everybody gets to
What
do
an
this.
honor.
So
Yeah.
All
will
right.
you do
Open
the
it up
honors?
right next to the mic so we can get some ASMR.
Wait, am I?
Yeah, please don't aim
Please
at,
don't
at
hit me.
Please. Ooh, nice. Oh my God, he just
It
let
did
it
actually
go.
go
You did.
He just let it go. All right. Okay.
All right.
pour
Ladies
us up.
first. Ladies first.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you,
Thanks
kind
for
sir.
having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. This is so cool. I'm glad we're in person and you're like living in California now so we can do
Who
this.
would have thought that, right?
I know. Guys, Rob, like when
Oh,
I met
that's a
him,
pretty
look at all that
crappy pour.
head.
That's a pretty crappy pour. You got to hold it in
When I
angle.
met
That's
Rob,
fine.
he was living
There you go.
in Chi-Town. And
That's right.
then he moved to Japan. And then he moved and he lived in Hawaii. And then like he got married and he had kids and then he moved to California
That's right.
finally. So
I hope we're done moving.
I
don't
hope
know.
so too.
No, you're
Can
done.
you just stay?
Yeah. I'd really
I was gonna
like to
say
stay.
I was gonna say you move as often as you get a new car. New drift car.
Except
It's
he
been a
rolled up.
while.
Rob rolled up today in no car.
Yeah, I don't want to talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, that's
You
okay.
don't
Okay,
wanna
all right.
Talk about
Kampai.
minivan life.
There we
Kampai.
go. Kampai.
Kampai.
Woo!
Cheers,
Cheers.
everybody.
Cheers, you
Season
guys.
one.
Thanks so much.
Season-
That's right.
season
I mean, season
two,
one. I mean,
episode
episode
one.
one. Woo!
Congrats
I'm
on
already
season
drunk.
2, guys.
Thank you.
Yum, yum. Okay.
Good stuff.
Sweet.
That's good.
All right.
Okay, so let's get into it.
Yeah.
I'm
Get
gonna
the
ask.
party started.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you a question we asked each other in the very first episode.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, when you get into cars, you're young.
Uh-huh.
You don't know a whole lot about cars. You're not a vet at car modification, and so a lot of us have done really dumb things to our first car to try and make it fast or cool. Can you
Yeah.
think of anything that you did that was dumb, that you regret, is embarrassing?
Man, I think fortunately I was like an internet nerd, so I would research everything before I did it. So I never
See, we didn't have that when.
I don't
you
know.
just did it.
Yeah, we
You
just
tried.
did it. I mean, I think one of the things I regretting, it wasn't a dumb mob, but I regret it, is I did a standalone engine management system on my Miata,
The
right?
heck are you talking
Wait,
about?
say that again?
A standalone engine management system, like whatever. Like
That's very advanced.
Wow. Is this
Yeah,
those new
it
new
sounds-
school kids?
no, but
way?
it sounds advanced, but I had no idea what I was doing. So that's what I mean. It was like ripping everything out.
So it wasn't an
of a-
ECU. It was like
It is.
a
He-
yeah,
he
standalone
replaces
ECU.
Yeah, like it.
That's so advanced.
But I had no idea what I was doing. So I
Okay.
guess it was scary because I took a car that had a warranty and I just like ripped it apart.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that was probably the dumbest thing I ever did.
And then it didn't start, and you're like, "Why doesn't
Yeah,
it
it
start?"
took like a month for me to figure out why I wasn't working. So.
Yeah, that's pretty stupid.
And then figuring out how to
That's so dumb.
it was pretty stupid. Yeah. But nothing like, cutting springs and
Oh,
hey!
always the prime example.
You know
Yeah.
what? I am damn proud of that. Okay, half is
I mean, she
good.
set the bar. You can't really.
That's right.
Half is good.
Get-
No, someone came on the show
You
and
should
cut
be
more than
proud.
half.
You
I
should
am-
be proud to set the bar.
I'm hella proud. I'm a bar setter.
Yeah, exactly.
Do
That's right.
the good
You
stuff.
paved the way.
But I mean, we've all done modifications where it's like
Yeah.
good intentions and you get done or halfway through and you're like, oh, I've messed up. I've made a mistake.
And you've
Yeah.
gone too far.
And you're like, I got to
There's
go to
no
work in an hour. You're like,
Point of no
my
return.
car doesn't start. What do I do? So yeah, that's kind of the worst thing I think I've done is just you go head first without thinking through, right?
Yeah.
Mm. Okay.
I've done that
I
a
might
little
as
bit.
well.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that.
All right. So I want to know, Rob, tell us the moment you fell in love with drifting.
Ooh,
Oh.
fell in love with drifting.
Was there like a single moment where it just happened, or?
I think, I had done a lot of autocrossing early on.
Yeah,
Um,
because of your
Yeah.
dad, right? You guys both were. in
yeah.
autocrossing.
So we got into Miatas for whatever reason I don't actually really remember, but we would go to the autocross events in the area, and I would join in, and just kind of naturally, with the Miata, the rear end would come around, and I kind of enjoyed that feeling. And I don't think I knew what it was initially, and then after going to Japan a few times, that's when I got into it. And then
Wait, you went to Japan before we met? or before we started talking online?
Yeah,
With
definitely.
For work for Toge Factory?
No, this was in
or-
high school.
Jeez.
I didn't know.
What
Was
a
this
brat.
like a exchange program or?
Yeah, so I mean, I took Japanese all 4 years of my high school
Oh.
Why?
just by chance. So in higigh school, everyone takes a language.
Yeah.
Why did you take Japanese?
Because it was different.
He wanted to meet
right?
Japanese girls.
That's right. I know.
Yeah.
I mean,
You have a type. Okay,
definitely.
continue.
But there was also a Japanese. Well, we had a Mitsubishi by us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or Yaohan, was it?
Yeah,
Before that?
Yeah. Dang. He knows
only the
old
OGs
school.
know.
Yeah. You're OG.
So-
OG.
So I'd always go to the bookstore and there'd be the magazines there, right? And I didn't know anything about them, but other than I liked the cars and I wanted to read them. So I kind of took Japanese as that. Like, let me just figure out how to, read these magazines. But so I took it all 4 years and I went those couple of years. I went twice in high school. And I remember one of my host brothers that I stayed at for 2 weeks. He actually lived in Guma, actually pretty close to some mountains there. But he gave me my first video, which was Drift Club Volume 2.
Oh, wow.
And I just remember watching that like 50 times, like in a weekend. I remember just watching it. And I kind of fell in love with it then, not having actually been drifting.
Yeah.
But it's funny, I can't remember the first time I actually drifted and like that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But because I'm pretty sure I just went out one night and said, like, let me just figure this out and like
Yeah.
play around in my own car.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got hooked pretty quick.
Yeah.
So can't remember one time. But I mean, the nice thing about Chicago was snow and rain and a lot of easy ways to practice. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's dope. Yeah, I didn't even know that part. I just thought that you went to Japan later, like when you knew about drifting and stuff.
No, I had no idea. I mean, yeah, my initial reason was females, probably.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Oh
Yeah,
my
but
God.
now that you're saying that, I remember just because when you did travel to Japan later, you were already kind of fluent. So
Yeah, I mean, I went a few times in high school, and then I thought I was okay until you actually go later and you're older and you live there and you
Right.
realize how shit you are. And
Yeah.
I got really, really good from that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can't remember how many times I've been now. I've been so many times, but
Yeah.
it's a big part of me. And I mean, we lived there for 4 or 5 years, so
Mhm.
it was really cool. But yeah, going back, I don't know how I don't remember the first time I fell in love with it. It's just always been a passion from what I can remember. So
Yeah.
it's just been so long that we've been into it. Yeah. So,
What year did you graduate high school?
01.
01.
Yeah.
So
Ooh,
before 01?
now we know exactly how old you are.
Oh, do the math.
Yeah, I went in 2000 for the first time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Millennium.
I like
Yeah.
to go once.
I know. We haven't even gone one.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Right?
I always ask you, like, wow, you guys.
I don't know why it's
Have
so
not been.
unbelievable
Because
to
we
people that
have
we've never
like
been.
4 kids, and you guys gonna pay up for our tickets? It's gonna be hi! I'd like 6 tickets to
Yeah.
Japan.
And
That's
when
not
we always knew that if we went or when we went that we'd want to
Yeah.
spend a long time there. Just
Yeah.
there's so much to do,
We
especially
can't get babysitters.
like I need a week minimum just for
Minimum.
the drifting stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you got to give yourself time. Especially, when you're on the West Coast, it's so easy to get there too, right? So,
Yeah.
gotta go. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Yeah.
Don't worry. We're going.
okay,
We're going.
Oh.
Benson's gonna foot the bill. Business class, baby.
gotta sell some podcast equipment first.
Damn. Season 2's over.
So a lot of your love for cars that comes from your dad.
Yeah, I mean, we were a family that, my parents worked at United. My grandparents worked at United in Chicago. That was it still is the home base of United, but kind of always into planes, anything with moving parts and an engine I was always really into.
Yeah.
And just kind of gravitated towards cars. He had cars growing up, and I remember always having a cool car, and kind of got into it that way. It was the most accessible thing, right?
Yeah.
Making plastic model cars as a kid and all that. So yeah, it came from
Always
there.
Japanese cars too, right? Not
No, I mean, I remember when I was born, he had like a Trans Am.
okay.
That's sick.
Yeah, it was like that old one that has like
The eagle.
the Phoenix or whatever it is on the
Mhm.
hood. Yeah.
Mhm.
You're so Japanese. You
yeah.
say Phoenix.
Yeah. He had a Corvette before that, and then
Okay.
I think growing up he had a GTI,
Okay.
Nice.
and then I got into Japanese because he got like a Honda Civic hatchback, and that was kind of cool for a while. And then there was always something cool,
Yeah.
like growing up. like a Starion. You guys remember what that is?
Hell
You said something cool, so let's continue.
No, and then he had, and what I learned to
I'm a
drive
hater.
stick on was actually an Impreza 2.5 RS.
Yeah.
So,
What a brat.
which at the time it was cool. I mean, it wasn't fast, right?
It's way
Yeah,
cool.
It was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
No, all
to
these
learn
cars,
stick on.
all these cars are like normal people don't own these cars. It's like
Enthusiasts.
yeah, people that
Yeah.
are passionate about cars own all of these.
Yeah, yeah.
Every single car that you mentioned.
Yeah. So it came from him for sure, and then for whatever reason he got into Miata, and I don't really remember why, but pretty quickly we got really involved in the Miata club in the area, the Windy City Miata Club, and they would do drives throughout the Midwest and stuff, but we really gravitated towards the autocross, and we got really heavily involved in autocross. So, and that's where I attribute all of my car control skills is autocross. I really think it's one of those things that you should have to do autocross along with driving school.
Yeah.
I feel like,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
like I've avoided so many major crashes because of knowing how to
Right.
maneuver a car, right?
Right.
So, but yeah, so that's how we got into it, mainly because of my dad, and then he had the car, and then when I turned 17 is when I got my Miata.
Did your dad drift?
No, he's ridden with me maybe once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Does he think you're crazy?
No, he's really into it.
Why have you
Yeah.
never asked him to drift your car?
I don't know. Never even thought
He
about
probably
it,
is like,
actually.
oh, I could do this. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean that was a cool time too when we would go to the autocrosses, and for a long time he would kick my ass, and like you finally get to a point where like I would beat him.
Yeah.
It's like a passing of the torch
Ooh.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Ooh, you earned
Yeah.
your right.
Yeah, and then we would go back and forth, which is kind of fun, right?
Okay.
Oh,
So-
that's really sweet.
And then I turbocharged my car, and then it wasn't really fair.
Not fair anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Whatever. It's the driver, not the car.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but that was a good time, and that's where it all came from for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
very darling.
And so-
very sweet.
I know.
Well, and
My
that,
goodness.
I think it makes it's pretty key too, because if you have parents who are adamantly against this
Mhm.
thing,
Yeah.
whether spending money on cars or going out with your friends who are involved
Yeah.
with cars and stuff,
Mhm.
it really helps you, I guess, go further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you're fighting the whole way, you're not going to get.
Well, I
very
feel
far.
like most of us, Mark, you can let me know if you agree too, but I felt like when we were teenagers and we were modifying cars, it was a form of rebellion.
Or just
Right.
freedom,
Yeah.
right? Get out of the house, go do something.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's
For sure.
that's totally different. That's not. I mean, I don't know if it's an Asian thing or what, but like that's not studying and spending your time getting good grades. So it was
Yeah.
not ever something that was fully supported from
Yeah.
my parents. So I can't imagine how different that is.
Well,
Yeah.
I think fixing up cars is like fashion. For me. It wasn't rebellion. It
Okay.
was fashion for me.
Okay.
It was
Yeah.
like you get wheels because they're like good shoes. And
Yeah.
like you paint your car because
Yeah,
it's
but
like good
would you get
clothes.
new wheels and be like, check it out, Mom and Dad, I got new wheels? Or would you
Yeah.
not tell them because they'd be like, oh, you're
Oh,
wasting
yeah.
your money?
My mom would be
and-
like, "Where? How'd you pay for that?"
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they were super supportive, and they're supportive in that like they weren't against it.
Mhm.
But I remember specifically there was a time when I was going to turbocharge that car, and I had to take a loan out to do it.
What? Alone?
Yeah, and then you're like a 17-year-old kid taking out a personal loan to do all this stuff. But I like put together a business proposal on like why
To get your
how
loan.
well, I mean to them, right? To it was to them, to my parents, like, why am I going to do this? How am I going to pay it back?
Yeah.
What's the benefit and all
Yeah.
this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right? So it's just that's how I thought at that time. But they were supportive, and I think that was my own like growth into being smart about it.
Yeah.
Although I don't know about being smart in the long term with
Right.
cars is really a thing, but it
There's
helped me
worse,
get there, yeah.
but there's worse ways of getting a loan, right? Much worse ways.
Oh,
you wrote
yeah.
a proposal. You kind of like you did it the grown up way, and
Yeah.
I think if that was my kid and I was as the parent, I'd be kind of proud about that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what they said. They were like, well, you kind of thought it all out. Like,
Yeah.
we're not super enthusiastic about this,
Yeah.
but it's your money, your life. Like, go for it. You
Yeah.
know? But so they were super supportive.
That's
Yeah.
Did
cool.
you pay them back?
No, it wasn't from them. It was like
It's-
legit from a bank.
For the bank.
Yeah. So like,
if I was a bank, I ain't gonna pay you. I ain't gonna loan you that money. They loaned you the money for
I mean, I think it was like $5,000
What?
or something.
How did you reason like give me money so that I can put a turbo in my car? What did you put in that proposal?
I think I just told them that like I could do it all now and enjoy it at one time and then work to pay it off. Otherwise, I'm going to be working for the next like 3 years to do this little by little, and I'm not going to have as much fun if I just do it now.
What kind of bank are you working
I don't.
They gave you the money.
I mean, I didn't have to justify to the bank, right? I mean, I just had to like get the loan from the bank.
I get it. You're asking your parents for permission to get.
Yeah, I had to tell my parents like,
yeah,
because at that age I couldn't walk into my bank.
Yeah,
even though I had an account,
yeah.
I couldn't be like, hey, can I have $5,000 or whatever? And so I had to go with them, right? So I had to tell them before they go with me.
Cute.
So they co-signed it. So the bank was like, whatever.
Yeah.
I hope you default. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but no, I mean, I'm really lucky in my whole car life that my parents have always been really, really supportive of it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, again, I mean, we can get to it later, but I took 2 years out of my college education where I stopped for 2 years just to focus on this, right? So, and they were okay with it, right? So that's how supportive they were. They saw how much I was into it, right?
Very supportive. Very supportive.
Oh my gosh.
Which I don't know. If my kids were doing that, I'd probably not be super into it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if I think about it now, but who knows?
Yeah, no, I remember they're always very understanding, and it's not necessarily how I would react either.
Yeah. And they were super welcoming to all the people that would come over to the house.
Yeah.
You know, all us car people would come over all the time, have barbecues, and my mom would bake cookies, and we'd be watching option videos and doing a barbecue. So it was a really cool atmosphere.
Yeah, we slept downstairs in the basement, I think. Yeah, we stayed over at your house
a few times,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Your parents are very very lucky.
I think it helped that all your car friends were not like hooligans, right?
Yeah.
All nice guys.
I mean, all the best people I know in my life are all car people, which is I don't want to say interesting, but it's unfortunate, right?
Yeah.
Like,
why? Why is that unfortunate?
No, it is fortunate. I'm sorry, it came out wrong, maybe, but.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I mean, there's different kinds of people in car culture, but I think the avenue that we chose was kind of its own defined, specialized kind of thing. And you have to be a certain kind of person to be into it.
Yeah,
a little bit studious because you have to like research stuff.
Yeah,
and,
nerdy.
You know, and we were all doing things that. I mean, yeah, we were kind of copying a little bit what was happening in another country, but it wasn't like it was at our fingertips. We're just copying from someone.
Yeah.
Like it's so easy to do now, right?
Yeah, you had to dig deep to find that information.
Yeah. And when we connected on those things, it's like, oh, you know, because you're one out of 100 people that know. And so you have a different kind of connection, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So different kind of people, and we all just kind of gravitated towards each other, and we're all really good people, right?
Yeah.
So,
It's like those dudes that are into My Little Pony.
The hell?
Who? Is that your other side thing?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Do you have another podcast about
I know, right?
Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about how you found out about drifting in the USA.
Yeah, I mean, it was mainly the West Coast at that point, right? It might have been a little bit of West Coast. It might have a little bit of East Coast at that point. I can't really remember.
Around what time?
Man, that would have been
12 o'clock.
Yeah. It would have been around 2001, 2002-ish, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like. Because right around when I graduated high school and I got really heavily into it. And around 2001, because I remember vividly one of the most impactful video VHSs I had was like the 2001 round of D1 at Nico. And it was Nico, and then Ebisu that year was really impactful for me, especially Ebisu. I remember that. I think that round, man, I forget who won, but like I remember Ueno was in the top 3.
Which one? Which round?
Ebisu, 2001. Ueno was in his red Sword, like street style Sword.
This was when that's my favorite.
Yeah.
That's my favorite season of D1.
Me too.
Was when all the cars looked awesome and there was no livery, right?
No.
It was just they were all street cars.
Yeah.
Stickers on windows only, like maybe some stickers on the paint.
Yeah.
But
it was just like the best Ikaten.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
That same video, I think it was volume 88 of Video Option, it had Tezuka at Ebisu like testing or something. It just blew my mind. I remember.
Yeah.
But it was right around.
How'd you get a hold of that video?
It was a bootleg from somewhere.
Yeah.
There was like a website that sold bootleg. I remember.
Okay.
I don't remember.
I didn't know about websites selling bootlegs. I would have bought some.
Yeah, there was a website selling bootleg, and then I found out later the video store at the Yauhan by me had
had all of those.
I think they were bootleg too, but they had them as well.
We had the same experience here in SoCal.
Yeah. So I would rent those, and that was pretty cool. But
Yeah.
but it was around that time I think you guys really started having drift days, and I remember it would be every Sunday or like once a month on Sunday. I'd be working at that time. I remember I had a job where I was working, and I'd have a computer, and I would just be on your website. Like refreshing like all day.
What the hell?
Because as soon as you guys would get back, like you'd start like people would start posting stuff
like a diary. Like and then he had his blog too.
Yeah. And like the day of, like there'd be random like spatterings of photos when people came home and like downloaded and upped it.
Yeah.
So I'd be on like Club 4AG and Slady Mania, and I would just be like refreshing like all day long.
Yeah.
Because with the time difference, like you guys would end the day a little earlier, and so I'd have like time. And I just remember being like, why am I in Chicago? This fucking sucks, man.
So what did you do about that?
Well, so yeah, and then I would do autocross, obviously, and then I would go, practice at night.
Did you ever get kicked out?
Yeah, I mean that's ultimately how Club FR got started. Was that we started to get kicked out. Yeah.
Where were you practicing?
I mean, the nice thing about Chicago is there's just space, right? I mean, there was tons of space by me, but even further south, we would call them the DCs, the distribution centers. But that's where I met guys like Simba and, Brian Kohler, aka Crab, like all those guys,
So you met him on the streets.
Basically. I mean, we met him on Silly Mania, to be honest, but then we hadn't met before Silly Mania until we met there and then would meet in person.
Got it.
Dang,
but they lived a little more
friends.
I mean, that's what this whole thing is about, right? I think all these car people are all internet friends, really.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But no, we would go to those and practice, and I mean, those were the days where I would drive around with a cone in my trunk, right?
Dang.
Like find a big lot and put it down and just play with it, right?
Yeah.
So, but we would get kicked out of eventually we got kicked out of the autocrosses, right? Because
did you disappoint your dad a little when you would do that?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I think he thought it was super cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he even fought with me for a while. Like, it's not like dangerous, you know, but insurance requirements, I get it now. Yeah. I didn't get it at the time because I was young, but then once I got into organizing events, totally understood it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just, you're renting a lot from a high school or something.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not cool. So, I get it. But, a lot of us would go to their autocrosses and try to kind of hang the rear end a little bit. I mean, at the end, before we got fully kicked out, I mean, I was there with like TF Dave, from Toge Factory, and TF Mike from Toge Factory. And there was like other people that, really we stayed together the whole time through Club FR. We all started autocrosses until we got kicked out. Right. Okay. And then that's where we wanted to start Club FR, do something formal. Yeah. Right. And then that's where that idea came from, and we started our own little crew of like, okay, how do we do this? Right. And that's where Phil and I kind of spearheaded a lot of that.
Phil who?
Phil Lee. Okay. So yeah, Phil Lee and I really spearheaded that.
How did you meet Phil?
SillyMania.com, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Like, I didn't even.
It's funny that you're meeting people in your area from a LA-based website.
Yeah, I mean, because we didn't have anything, and that's what eventually Club FR became. And there were other websites like there was one that was popular for us called MWIR, which was Midwest Import Racing or something. There were some other forums that popped up too, but Club FR was really big for a while, getting us together. But it started at Silly Mania. But yeah, I think we met originally there, and then he and I met kind of halfway between Madison, Wisconsin, and Chicago, where he lived at the time, and we just talked about what we want to do. And he had spent a lot of time in Chicago too with other guys, because I had seen him around with, that it was way back. I mean, he'd be hanging out with like, Josh from Risky Devil, and, or Proceed, and they kind of had their own like Honda kind of circle going on, and so again, we finally met up and talked about it, and then we had a little crew. I remember on the south side of Chicago, we all got together and talked about what to do, and Simba was there, Phil was there, there's just tons of people down there. Tim Holly was a really OG guy in Chicago that he actually gave us the space. He did the first SR swap that I knew of. But I mean, so it was all this fun time where we were trying to figure out what to do. then we kind of tapped into the West Coast, and that's where we kind of knew what to do because I had helped with the autocross stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the drifting piece was new, especially the insurance piece, right?
Yeah.
And so we had to dip into clubfr AG, and then that's where Phil and I reached out originally to Moto, and then kind of to Naoki as well.
Right.
And I think Moto was kind of doing his own thing and really focused on 4AG at that point, and at that time, like D1 stuff and everything. So we kind of latched down, and Naoki had the time to help us. So we actually, for the first year or two of Club FR, I'd say we were like an affiliate of Club 4AG.
Yeah.
Well, before
you
we
were
get
doing drifting.
Before we get too much into how that started, like there was a period of drifting before Club FR and Drift Day, right? You guys, you're talking about a lot of street drifting.
Yeah, I mean, we did a lot. I mean, street. Yeah, there was a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was mostly parking lots, though. I mean, we're not blessed with the mountains like you have out here or in Japan. So there was a lot of just big, wide open spaces, and the DCs, like I talked about as well. And you'd find a random corner here and there too that was really cool. But yeah, there was a lot of that. I mean, we would meet up 2-3 times a week.
Yeah.
That,
what?
right.
That's crazy.
And then I have vivid memories of you drifting at the Tire Rack test course.
Yeah.
Tire Rack is based in Chicago.
No, so it's not actually. It's not even close. It's in Indiana.
Okay.
I forget what town.
You drove to Indiana for this.
Yeah. So that's maybe like a 3 or 4 hour drive to Indiana. And they were the first ones to kind of go, let's see what this is all about, right? And gave us a shot. So yeah, the first drift day ever was actually at the test.
Okay,
the test course,
as Club FR.
As Club FR.
A drift day associate.
Yeah, I think our insurance was probably through Drift Day at that point. Or at least, I forget the exact way we had it, but it was. So the first one I think technically was there, and then we went back and forth with. There was a kart track in Illinois that was also about 2 or 3 hours away.
What was that called?
It was called Norway.
Okay.
Small little kart track, but we kind of would go back and forth between those two venues,
right?
Most of the time.
So at that point, you guys were holding your first events. Who was the one kind of leading the way, kind of showing the other people, like this is how you do it, and like this is how you have better technique, and this is what you're doing wrong and right.
Yeah.
How did that go down? Because I mean, there was no one there to kind of show you guys, right? You guys had to learn on your own.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of us were practicing on the streets and then going to the events, right?
Yeah.
And there was a core of us who probably were further along than most were, right? And I think a lot of that had to do too with our connection. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention in Chicago's birth of drifting would be like Dave Lee and Toge Factory. Because without that kind of hub of knowledge, know-how, like influence on style, and then straight up just parts and fixing stuff, I mean, we wouldn't have gotten very far.
So early on, Dave Lee, like he knew what's up with like Japanese car style.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and that's where a lot of, I mean, we're into Japanese car style because of videos and magazines and stuff like that. Because of Yamaha and Mitsuwa, we were all kind of into it, and the videos were starting to come out. I mean, those are the days when I'd be on LimeWire for like 5 hours trying to find, downloaded videos, and am I gonna kill my computer because I'm downloading some video? But it was that. So, but he was a hub, and he would bring stuff in and like have Drift Tengoku in there. So it was just this hub of like-minded people, right?
And you ended up working there too, right?
Yeah, for a long time too, which was really cool. Yeah, I mean it's funny. It's like take money and like you earn it, and you just like give it
back.
It's just
you work for parts.
Yeah, basically. So, but I think a lot of our style kind of in Chicago, especially at the time, came from that, and that we had that hub. And that was the time when Dave was bringing in Japanese parts. He was, starting Origin USA, Version Select USA. So,
and that was, I remember that was a huge moment for the Midwest, right? Because if you were importing things from Japan, or if you were closely tied with a company in Japan, you were in Southern California, right? There's so many, there's a large Japanese population in Southern California. And it's just, I guess it's by the docks of Long
Yep.
Beach, and
Yeah.
so it just made sense. And it was also very much a hub for Japanese car culture in the U.S. in Southern California. So when he established that was huge, because he didn't establish that and move to SoCal.
Right.
He kept it there.
Yep.
And even though that meant shipping it
Yep.
to Long Beach and then shipping it to the Midwest,
Yep.
like that's how it was.
Yeah.
If I wanted some Origin Lab parts, I had to get it from Chicago,
Yeah.
which was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, I think the fenders on your car are actually,
Yeah.
I shipped to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have
I
it
remember
on my
that.
car still.
Yeah, right? Like, it's crazy. So, yeah, but so him starting that and having that, I think really propelled us in the Midwest
Mm-hmm.
from a styling perspective, because we had access to all those cool parts.
Yeah.
And, Dave himself has a really keen eye for style.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of permeated throughout the scene at that time too, right? And I mean, my car, for example, Miata I couldn't do the things a lot of those guys were doing in the 240 community, but by and large, it just really helped the community have a specific style
Mm-hmm.
and kind of a hub that that's where we met on Friday afternoons and like would drive up to the events on Saturday or Sunday from there. It was always the hub of where you would get together. So,
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
it's still the hub to today. Like
Yeah.
he's still so involved and still
Yep.
cutting edge, trying new things. So I
Yeah.
feel like it's not changed. So
Yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
he's, got the stance suspension piece too. I
Mhm.
mean, there's a lot that he's been able to push forward in the
Yeah.
community. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he was a great driver. There's a whole host of great drivers. If I try to name, I'm going to miss someone, so I'm not going to try. But
Yeah.
you just don't remember their names because you're drunk.
Are you drunk? You're not
More
drunk.
juice.
Do you want more
Trying.
champagne?
No, yeah, I'll do more champagne.
Yeah. It's a little
Thank you,
sweet,
thank you.
but it's all good.
But I mean, it was wow, that's a good poor thing. But I think we're really lucky in Chicago that, I mean, our season is fairly short, but
Yeah.
I would, if it was raining, I would go drive. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If it was snowing, I had my winter beater every year. I mean, I cringe to think about it now with the prices that things are, but every year, pretty much for 3 or 4 years, I would buy like a rusted out S13 or S14 and use it for the winter.
Your winter missile.
Yeah, and you'd use it for the winter,
What a life.
and then you'd
I
get
don't
rid
know
of it
that
because I mean it was already rusty before you got it, and
Yeah.
then you'd drive it all winter in the snow, and then it would be just horrible. You'd sell it
Yeah.
again. I remember doing that like 3 or 4 times. So when the season was short for like true drifting, like
Mhm.
I mean, we would drift all year round, right? And I think I attribute that a lot of really great drivers. We're good in the rain,
Yeah.
practice in the snow, which, a lot of the tandem that I did, I just learned so much in the snow because you'd have,
Mhm.
it'd be like me and Simba or something, like in 2 cars we don't care about, just trying to hit each other or
Yeah.
whatever. So it was really fun, right? But
Yeah.
you learn a lot from it about proximity and how to just be really comfortable, really close to someone. So
Mhm,
That's
mhm.
so cool because
Yeah.
I remember like my first event we were at Irwindale and it was the first time it rained, and
Yeah.
I was just clueless. I was like,
I
"What do
think
we do?"
I remember that one because I remember seeing it, and I think I was supposed to go to that event.
Mhm.
I was either thinking about driving out there or
Mhm.
like shipping my car or do something because was it a driver search?
I don't know. I think it was connected with a drift day
It
and a
was
driver search, or like it was
something.
like Saturday this, Sunday this, or something
Yeah.
like that.
I
But
just remember it raining, and I watched people like not driving well, and I'm like, oh,
yeah,
Yeah.
you're like, I know
could
that.
totally drive.
Like
Yeah.
I could
decent
drive
in
in the
that, yeah.
snow.
It
so
never
Yeah.
rained. It never rained
Yeah.
on our events,
Yeah.
or they
Yeah.
would get canceled.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So I think it's literally like 2
Yeah.
events or 3
Yeah.
rain events I've
Yeah.
driven, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like I don't
Same.
really remember.
Well,
Yeah.
all I remember is that, and in all of those events in the rain, like I would spin out so hard.
Dude, even
Just
today.
like I would amaze myself at how hard I would spin out.
yeah, yeah, even today we go to the Porsche. I went to the Porsche experience.
Yeah.
And it's raining. They do the rain donut thing. Like
Yeah.
you try to do donuts in the rain because it's got sprinklers all over the ground. I can't do donuts in the rain. There's no way.
it's
So,
funny
like-
because I remember at the Miata club that we were part of, this one day they had this skills training event
Uh-huh.
where they had like hard braking zone and this, and they had the zone where they would put water on,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and everyone's like trying to figure out. I'm just like drifting around the whole thing.
You're like,
and they're like,
got
that's not what
this.
this is for. I'm like, what do you mean that's not what this is for? I'm holding the slide. That's what you want us to do, right? It was funny, but yeah.
Sir,
Yeah.
you need to stop.
But I mean, it goes back to our time at Toge Factory, but I remember lunch breaks and like Friday afternoons or just after work or before work.
Yeah.
I remember we would just watch D1 videos nonstop. And we wouldn't just watch the event itself. Do you remember a lot of times they did those like extra tracks or bonus where all it was in-car footage?
Yes.
We would just watch the in-car footage
over and over.
Like over and over.
Yeah.
Like we wanted to see
during
their
lunch.
hands. Yeah, during lunch.
While you guys were eating Spam and rice.
Yeah. Dave's mom would make the best lunch.
Oh wow!
It was so like I would hear about it. I mean, I know so many people that have worked at Toge Factory, and that was like, you get free lunch here.
Yeah,
it's Spam and rice.
It was you get to work in an industry you love. We didn't open till 10 because we would work kind of West Coast hours a little bit. Does that make sense? Yeah, it makes sense, right?
it does.
So we would work kind of like West Coast hours. So we like you don't have to come in until 10 or 11 or whatever, and then like you can just I don't know. It was just the perfect setup, right?
Yeah. But I mean, hold on a second. Speaking of in-car footage, it's really funny. I was having a conversation with little birdie named Chris Paz Perry. Paz from the UK. Paz. Yeah, he's your buddy.
Oh man,
he's watching your in-car footage. Do you know he was watching your in-car footage?
Really?
He does, and he said that he associates your in-car footage, like your steering, with Taniguchi.
Wow.
Did you know that?
But that's who I would watch, like nonstop.
What do you think about that?
I think Paz is drinking something first.
Well, Benson thinks the same.
But I
don't know.
I have to say that I love Taniguchi so much that if anyone is compared to him, he better be damn good.
Dang, burn right there. Burn. Yeah.
But I mean, that's who I would always aspire to drive. Like it's interesting though, like from an external standpoint, my favorite driver back in those early days was Tezuka. Like just flair and like the car, and it was crazy. But in car, I was just like, Taniguchi's the best. Like you can't.
He just makes it look
so easy. Makes it look so easy.
He never looks panicked or like he's reacting to something ever.
Yeah. So yeah, but I mean, we would just watch in car nonstop. Like we'd watch the round, but then we would watch the in car nonstop. And we would just study that.
Well, Paz is studying you apparently. So he's looking at your hands, looking at your steering. No. Shout out, Paz.
Yeah. It's funny though too, because it's the one thing I think you can critique yourself so much on.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like how basketball players watch film.
Yeah.
You notice when you rewind things over and over, you can put it in slow-mo. You can see so many little things that you just never know what's going on when you're driving.
Yeah. I mean, you'd give me shit all the time, but I mean, there was a period where I was super addicted to the handbrake. Especially in the mountain. Like,
I heard about that.
I'd always be touching. I'm like, why am I like?
It's not just you.
A lot of people, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of people.
But you'd watch the video and you'd be like, why did I didn't even need to touch it right there. Yeah. Like it's just this safety mechanism thing.
Yeah.
But
I think part of that also was like, I also aspired to be like Taniguchi.
Yeah.
So Taniguchi doesn't like, while he's steering, he doesn't like put his hand there just in case.
No.
He knows exactly when he's going to put his hand there, and he does not take his hand off the steering wheel unless it's that point.
Yeah.
So
I just never, I don't know, and I feel bad. This sounds bad because some people drive like this and they drive fine, but I just never was the like go like this kind of person.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like me?
I love. I just loved I loved how Taniguchi he traced the wheel. Yes. And it just looked so awesome, right?
So you're saying don't let go of the wheel.
I mean, you have to sometimes. Right?
I call it hot potato steering.
Is that
Oh, I'm not that bad. I'm like, damn.
It's like an S13 thing.
It is.
Okay, I'm gonna say that.
I think S13s train people to be kind of lazy. Yeah. So it's just it's easier. Yeah. So you kind of fall into that, like, I can do this and it's okay,
Yeah. I mean, we all do it, I think. It's just, I would watch video and be like, I don't want to do it. How do I not do it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then that was a time when, I mean, we all started driving. I mean, we weren't into like big angle kits and like all this. I mean, I was in a Miata. I was like the worst of angle, right? So very different drifting style than we have today,
for
right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So which honestly, like the stuff that, like animal style and these guys are like backing into stuff, like I can't do that.
I know.
I just can't. Like that's not my style. And even if I tried, I'd definitely crash, right? So
Do you think, I think about it often, because I got a heat maker. I got heat maker knuckles from Julian. But it wasn't so that I can do backies. It was more because my car was having lots of problems with its setup. I didn't like the way it was driving. I didn't know what happened to it, but all of a sudden, like, it just was not. It was not reacting the way that I wanted it to anymore.
You
and
put
Julian,
some bad parts on though.
Yeah, I did. I was messing with some GK Tech stuff. I made the car really low, and that was kind of the start of it. But Julian stepped in and he's like, "Let me help you, like fix it." So first thing he did was like, get some heat maker knuckles. We set it all up, but I still drive it the same. And I don't know if I would ever drive it the way that people are now, like Naoki Nakamura, or like the animal style guys. It doesn't seem like it's my style right now. Do you think you would ever? I see on videos where Taniguchi is trying to do that stuff now. Like he has a car set up like that,
the zebra car,
so that he can drive that way. And I'm just like, I don't know if I would ever drive that way because
I don't think I would.
Okay.
And I don't want to take anything away from people who drive like that, or it's just not how the driving style that I grew up idolizing. It wasn't that. Right? Like I almost prefer drifting as fast as you can.
Me too.
Like,
that's not to say the animal style guys or Nakamura is not fast, because they are so fast.
They're super fast.
But it's just a different approach to it.
Yeah. I mean, and with me in the platform I was in at that time too, in the Miata, which always an underdog. I mean, I was never going to win an angle battle, right? It was always, I need to be fast on the door and almost blind people. If it's a judging event, like blind people to that I'm not at the angle, but I'm on their door. I can be faster. And that's where people always like, oh, wow, if you're close and you're going to win, right? So, but to your point, I can't see myself driving like that because one, I don't think I could probably do it anymore. But it's not my preferred style. So, not to take anything away from it. It's just different styles now, right?
This episode is brought to you by Bardabe. Bardabe is a car builder and tuner in the Central Texas, Austin area. In addition to other Nissans like the 350Z, they specialize in GT-Rs, R32 through 35, and has over 10 years experience. In terms of tuning, they work with most standalone ECUs like Motec, M-Tron, Link, Haltech, and AEM, to name a few. Bardabe has tuned some of our friends' infamous cars, including J-Spec Sam's blue R32 GT-R. When we get our GT-R, we know where we're sending it to get tuned: Bardabe. For more info, visit bardabe.com and be sure to check out their dyno tuning videos on IG at Bardabe. This episode is brought to you by Lot USA. Lot USA has been the master distributor of Brid racing seats for the past 18 years. Celebrating their 42 years in operation, Brid manufactures high-quality performance products for circuit, drag, GT, and drift.
Nadine and I have always run Brid seats in our cars, and even today, Brid seats are the latest mod in our new drift car. Our favorite seats are the FIA-approved Zeta 4 and the reclinable bucket seat, the Stradia 3.
One of the latest releases from Brid is the Zeta 4 Vireo, which is a size small version of the Zeta 4 for petite drivers. Visit lot-usa.com for more info and follow them on IG at lot_USA.
I want to talk about your heyday.
My heyday.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
We're only talking about his heyday
No,
today.
no. Like, because he's talking about how he can drive like animal style. Okay. But I want to talk about competition and how you're kind of a badass. So, I have on my list here RSR. So I'm going to bring it to 2004. I mean, we haven't gotten that far yet. I mean, dang. Okay.
You've been all over the place, but yeah.
Yes. So let's go to 2004. Okay. RSR.
Yeah.
Let's jog the memories and tell us a little bit about that.
Man, RSR, what a big one. I mean, I think you guys had RSR before us here, and I remember that was a really big event for you.
We had one RSR event before that Chicago one.
Yeah, I think so.
in Fontana, right?
I remember too. Yeah,
and Orido came.
Yep.
Hayashida came.
Yeah.
Did they do JGTC there too?
No,
at the same time.
That was a different event.
That was a different one. Yeah, but no, that was really big for us, and that was a big time when we were trying to push drifting in the Midwest. Club FR was kind of getting started. I don't remember how far along we were, but that event, I don't really remember where it really started. It might have been a push from Naoki at 4AG, to be honest, to try to put something together. And I think it was fresh off of the one you did here, and we said, okay, can we do it again? So it was about a year putting that together. And that was interesting because I was not only obviously wanting to drive and be part of the driving, like I was part of the organization of it all, with
hosting it
with Phil and Simba, going out to Chicago Raceway to look at the spot. Like we were involved in all aspects of it, and we were doing the marketing of it. I mean, we had radio spots on the radio trying to get people to come.
Yeah,
jeez.
Just because it was a great learning experience. Like, to have this happen, we have to have spectators to come and help do it, right?
Yeah.
So, but that was really big because there's a lot of people that I think trace back their initial kind of live viewing of drifting to that event that came back to Club FR events that year or after that, and remember that event. Yeah.
That was like your version of what we had with Option Ika 10 or Drift Show Off.
Yeah.
It's like the first major event that kind of sparked a lot of passion in people.
Yeah, and it was great because it gave an avenue for us as grassroots people to come and drive, because there were two different things going on at that event, because you guys came out, right? Yeah. I mean, you were driving JDM. No, you weren't. It wasn't JDM.
I was driving the yellow car.
That's right. You were driving the yellow coupe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yellow S13.
I love that car.
Yeah.
It was a cool car.
I'm sad how it ended its
Mm-hmm.
life. But
rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace. Beautiful car. But so we had that going on, which was great because it drew crowds out to see, like you, Kangushi, Orido was coming out.
Yeah.
There were a lot of big names that came out.
There was the guest driver. It wasn't Hayashida.
No, it
was someone else driving Hayashida's car, and he was like a local winner of a competition or a series.
Yeah, so
or something.
RSR did an event, I want to say at like Sekia Hills or something. Also, rest in peace, Sekia Hills.
Oh, so sad.
Yeah, I want to say it was an event at Sekia Hills that RSR just said, if you win this event, you get an all expenses paid trip to Chicago to do an event. And so he was like there and was a really good driver too. I don't remember his name.
I don't either.
But we had you guys, like Alex Pfeiffer was there because Alex was driving our RSR in the S2000 at that point.
Right. He was like a special driver, which is really cool for us on the West Coast. That that one of our guys was up there driving with Orido.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was cool because we had that event going on, and then you had the grassroots side where there were two competitions going on, right?
Yeah. And there was also, I remember, there was an instructional part of the event where a lot of us guys from the West Coast who drove there, I guess, I don't know if you call it like the pro level of the competition.
That was.
But we were there like instructing a lot of the grassroots guys on, that we're going to compete later. And so that was so much fun being on the course with you guys and seeing what Chicago drifters could do and kind of.
Do you remember being in my car?
Yeah.
You remember that, right?
I remember.
Do you remember that track?
Yeah.
How there was that big, like, there was.
It was bumpy.
It was bumpy. And I mean, it's classic, like, Japanese, like, Orido setup of event. Like, they're going to make it so it's uncomfortable, I feel like.
And it was the classic Ika 10 course where you have a long straight and then reducing radius corner.
Yeah.
And then,
but they made it so that bump, that major bump, was right where you want to initiate.
Where you would initiate. Mm-hmm.
and it was just freaking everyone out, right?
Yeah.
And I remember, like, clear as day, like, you riding with me, and it was freaking me out. And you were just like, there's no bump, Rob.
Yeah.
Like, all, like, Zenish, right? Like,
I don't remember that.
Sure?
Yeah. I swear to God, like, all Zenish, like, Rob, there's no bump. Just initiate like you always initiate.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Just like,
send it.
yeah. And so, yeah, I mean,
that could have worked really well or really bad.
Really bad. I think you should definitely know where the bumps are.
But it was a fun day. And I mean, it was, they gave us this little like crappy practice track before we got on the big track. And I was driving like crap all day long. I remember I think it was butterflies and it was a big day, right?
Yeah.
Because I think for me, the big thing too, the buzz was like Alex was there in the RSR car, right? And it was like, oh crap, if you do good here, like you could maybe get into
like make a name
or
like get to where Alex has gotten.
You could be the other white guy at RSR.
Wow.
Yeah.
I said it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So anyway, So we got onto the big track, and your advice helped me, and had a really good battle back and forth. I mean, we weren't tandeming; it was like going one at a time.
Yeah, it was single runs,
and it was like
I miss those days. I feel like we need more of those days because I think that a lot of what the driving is today is so much about tandem.
Yeah.
And we kind of lose sight of like what is an awesome solo run.
Yeah, and then so, I mean, we all had the solo runs. I think it was me, Keith Scholler, a.k.a. Beef.
Yeah.
He was there in his coupe. There was, what's the guy? He's from Canada in a Corolla. It was like, I think the three of us were the top three. But it was just so fun because, it was competitive, but it was really just like, wow, this is happening.
It's happening in Chicago.
In Chicago.
And it's like, we got to the top three and we're like, man, whatever happens now, like, we're super happy, right?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I drove well enough apparently and won that event, which was really, really big. I think a turning point for me, just like, okay, like I'm okay. Like I'm decent.
Yeah.
Like, let's keep pushing this and see where it goes. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was a really big event. Yeah.
What'd you win?
Weekend. Man, what did I win? No money, unfortunately. There was like a prize pack with like this really big.
Got some RSR parts.
Not even.
Did you get some Yokohama tires?
I think I got like a pair of Yokohama tires, which
was... A pair?
Yeah, it was, which unfortunate because I ran 16s at the time and they didn't make anything. Well, I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
I got this really big trophy, which is funny because I know in your story time you talked about your trophy that you got and you had to take it apart.
Yeah.
Same thing. I mean, I'm in a Miata and I have a trophy as tall as me. I have to like take it apart and like put it in. And I had like all the sponsors gave something. So I had some really cool stuff. But it was a really cool day. And I think it was just, for me, it was super vindicating that I had put so much into helping put this event together with so many other people.
Yeah.
But to win it was just really cool because there were a lot of people there from other areas, not from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So to win it in Chicago, being from Chicago, was a really cool thing, I think, for me and then for a lot of the people that we were with there.
I think it's important to state, like more to what you just said, was so much of drifting was happening in Southern California.
Yeah.
And so for something to be out in the Midwest, like there was nothing happening anywhere remotely near the Midwest.
No.
So people were traveling from so many states to see what was going on because either you go there or you go all the way to California.
Yeah. I mean, we had Minnesota people coming. We had, Wisconsin, Iowa. I mean, there were people from the South coming. I mean, everyone was coming together because, I mean, at that time, there was a lot going on the East Coast, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Signal Twins had been out to the East Coast.
Yeah.
They had their own thing going. JR was really coming up. And I think at that time, right around that's when like he had the Falcon livery on his coupe. And he was driving. He was doing a lot of cool things on the East Coast. So it was nice to like, okay, we have our own thing growing here. And it really kicked off a lot. And I think it kicked off clubfr as well. Like other people like, oh, I want to get into this. Like,
I want to go drifting now.
Yeah.
What's crazy too about like perspective is basically the same group later, like 17 years later, does Final Bout.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so if you're listening and you don't know, like these are the people, like their first event, your big event was that RSR event, but who knew that like 17, 18 years later, you'd be doing this like insane national drifting, team drifting competition.
Yeah.
Right?
Something that's, by the way, Final Bout started in Chicago.
Yep.
And has spread out across the US and Japan.
Yeah.
So, that I think that's cool in itself. When you guys were kind of trying to find something similar to what was going on elsewhere, like you guys started something on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't want to say that was me. That was definitely not me. That was a whole different, Ilya and Simba, and they had some just amazing vision of what they wanted to do. But I think it was very, it's cool. To your point, Adine, it's cool to see that come together in Chicago. And it made a lot of sense because we were trying to they were trying to bring together the best of the country, and like what better place to do it than right in the middle.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the Chi-Town Drift family.
It's like, you know,
I love it.
You guys had to sit around and watch us with like Michael Cooper and Kareem and Magic Johnson, and then like eventually you guys had Jordan, you know, and like, hey, we're here too.
And we were better, so it's okay.
Oh my god.
It's a bigger legacy, I think.
Moving on.
So back to the RSR event. That's the day we met.
No.
We physically met.
No.
Oh, it's not. We skipped over that.
Yeah.
Oh, when was the moment you met?
So we met at the first D1.
Yeah.
In Irwindale, which I was just at as a spectator. Phil and I went.
You guys flew all the way just to watch a drifting event.
I don't remember if anyone else came with us. I'm sorry if I'm missing your name, but yeah, it was us. But I remember then I was talking.
Was Josh there with you guys, or did he go on his own, or was that a different event?
It might have been. There was actually quite a few people from Chicago that went to that event, and some of us went separately, some together.
Yeah.
You know, those first 3 D1s kind of all blend together for me. Mm-hmm. But the first one I remember at least walking in most vividly, and
Magic.
Because I remember waiting in the line outside, and I was like, man, I was super excited. This is cool. And then they started practice, and I remember like vividly, I can smell it and see it and hear it. The first cars coming around the bank, I was like, oh, like this is like D1. But then I remember the one that impacted me the most was Nomuken. I could tell it was Nomuken because the RB sound, the smoke, and the way he like clutch kicks. I was just like, that's Nomuken. And I was just like outside the event, but on the wall, and you're like, that's Nomuken. And that's why I was just, okay, this is the greatest thing ever. I remember that vividly.
You guys are otakuing out.
I mean, that's so important to this podcast is the otakuness of the guests. But back in those days, I feel sorry for people who don't know Nomuken then, because Nomuken, there was something about Nomuken. Like he made so much more smoke than everybody else, drastically more smoke. Yeah. And then you had he was the one in the big car, and he, that straight 6 turbo sound, like most people were not in a straight 6, and maybe you had, I'm trying to remember if Tezuka was there, but you know, or what's his name? Ueno was there.
Ueno was there,
right? But it's just a different sound.
Yeah, it was just
different. The impact was different when Nomuken was out there.
Yeah, it was totally different, and had us all going like, "Oh man, we need to get Dunlop tires on."
Everyone said that.
Tires.
I feel like he did so much for Dunlop, and I remember I bought as soon as I could get a pair of Durezas, I got some, and I'm like. It's not the tire. No. There's something else going on.
It was. I mean, honestly, thinking on it now, it was all wheel speed, right? That's pretty much what it was, right? I think he had high tire pressure and probably wheel speed.
It could be
mostly.
He knew something that no one else knew because no one else could do it.
Yeah, but it was just so. Yeah, I mean, that event was huge. I remember that specifically. I remember standing right by the wall where Calvin bound into the wall.
Yeah,
being up in the stands shouting. You know, that was the event that Ueno beat Taniguchi.
Man, that event,
it was
that
huge.
event was so perfect.
Oh, it
was scripted.
Yeah, it was
right?
so perfect, right?
Just for for everyone's first experience in D1, and they watched a Hachiroku take out a 400, 500 horsepower S15.
Yeah,
so
it's
good.
Perfect. And that's when you could walk through the pits, and I got pictures with Tezuka, with I don't know, so many different drivers, right?
Yeah.
Like Asamoto was there. I mean, you're meeting
all of your heroes.
Yeah, you're meeting all your heroes, which is cool. And then you were there. And then I remember though, because you were.
Wait a minute.
I didn't mean to laugh.
Wait a minute. Am I included in that?
Take it how you will. I'm glad you laughed.
Okay.
No, but
non-specific. Got it.
That other guy.
But this was a time when I think you were doing a lot of work. I don't know if were you working or you were sponsored by Cause at that time, and I was trying to get an LSD for myself for someone, and you were helping me get a deal. And I don't remember why, but we're like, hey, let's meet up at the event and we'll talk about it or something.
Yeah.
So I remember meeting you, but I remember vividly on this too, is like I had to introduce myself like 3 times. Because you're like,
sorry.
Dang, what a jerk.
No, I mean, but you were like doing things. And I was just like, hey, I'm Rob. And,
Yeah.
You're like, who the fuck?
yeah.
Rob.
Like I want to buy a LSD
You didn't
from
say, you didn't say, hi, this is Roadster Drift.
Oh my God.
I didn't even have Roadster Drift at that point.
Oh, you were NB8CT.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, on AOL, you know,
Yeah.
NB8CT. Yeah, that's me.
But,
What's your screen name?
Yeah.
Okay.
But so that's the first time we met, was at that
Okay.
event.
3 times.
Yeah.
Damn, what a disser,
You know,
honey.
I'm sorry.
God. It's
I
kind
was,
of a big
I was
deal back
very
then,
bad at people skills then, and I remember like Josh told me he met me there, and I was like,
No, you didn't.
I don't remember. You know,
I don't
like
remember you.
Yeah.
Wait, but you were driving the white. Were you
Yeah.
driving
No,
I
the
think
JDM Rice?
you were driving something.
I didn't make it to that event. I didn't.
Oh.
Oh wait, no, there
I
were.
remember you were.
No, I just didn't make it. I just
No.
didn't make it.
But you were in the white cause car there, no?
Yeah, I
I don't
think
remember.
so.
Probably.
I feel like he
just,
was.
You know, like if you don't make it, if you don't qualify, you still show
Yeah.
up and you sign
Yeah.
autographs and you talk to people.
Yeah.
You know, you still hold
Yeah.
up your deal at the end
Yeah.
of the bargain, even though you don't make it.
I remember
But that's
too.
the first time we met. Yeah.
I remember too. I was in the grid, like taking pictures with all the guys,
Yeah,
And
there's
then-
some good pictures.
and then they were like, "We're at capacity. It's 10,000 people in the
Yeah,
stands."
That's crazy.
And it's a trip because I'm like, 10,000 people came to watch this?
Yeah,
like,
that's
oh my
crazy.
gosh.
Those stands were crazy. I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, and I didn't understand what 10,000 people look like.
Yeah.
And they're here to see like our heroes.
Yeah.
That was a trip.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a big one.
Yeah.
That was a big one.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, those first 3 D1s were pretty impactful for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Wait.
for everybody.
Didn't I take you to the hat?
That was the second time.
That was the second time. Okay,
That was the
second time I
When he
remembered
said his screen
you.
name.
Yeah.
he's
Second
like-
time I remembered you. We all went to the hat,
Yeah.
got some pastrami sandwiches and chili
Changed my
fries,
life again.
and then we went back to my place
Yeah.
and we nerded out with videos and magazines. I
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah. And even then I was like, dude, I'm in Benson's house.
Stop.
Like Nadine's sitting over there. What are we doing right now? Right. So, but I mean, you know, that was the time period where, you know, we were all just meeting each other and just enjoying each other's company.
Meeting
Yeah,
our
for sure.
internet friends.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, those D1s were great. I mean, you know, the second one was awesome because somehow I finagled getting like a media pass saying I was with clubfr. And I was
Those are
doing-
the best seats, man. When
Dang.
you can just like hang back in the
Yeah.
pits or be
Yeah.
Yeah,
right
I mean,
next to them
I was
while
in the
they're
Great.
skating.
infield, right? I was
Yeah.
in the infield, and that's where
You can
I mean,
you
all
feel like
the
you're
crazy
part
stuff.
of it.
Yeah, and then
Mhm.
that year they did ride-alongs. I remember.
Yeah,
and I rode along with Taniguchi on the bank, and I just remember like
I never had that experience.
it was trippy, man.
Yeah.
I'm just watching him, and it's just so easy. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, we're in 4th gear going down the
Yeah.
bank, like, and he was holding back too because it's just the practice,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
even then, I was just, man, this is another level, right?
Yeah.
So, but being in the pits, talking with Imamura and just stuff like that, and that's, you know, I had like semi decent Japanese, like asking questions and stuff like that was really fun. But those first 3 were huge.
Yeah.
I think the third one was when Jarrett won. I think
Okay,
the third one.
that was
So,
like the world event
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever they call it.
where they swapped they weren't it backwards, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
What's a trip
Yeah.
too is that was the first D1 was 04, right?
Mhm.
And then that was
it
also
was
the
it 04?
no,
mean,
not the first D1. The
the-
first time D1 came to the US.
yeah,
was in 04.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the inaugural
So-
Formula Drift was also
in
in
04. Well, so much
04.
happened
remember.
in 04.
yeah. And and then you drove Formula
RSR
D.
event was in 04.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot in 04. And then, it was the following year. Was it 05 or
Yeah.
06?
No,
What's that?
I think it was 05. Yeah.
05.
when you did Formula D.
Yeah. So I did, my first time before the year was at Atlanta in the Circuit City car, which was interesting. Circuit City Miata,
Well, but
which
you had already gotten your license at that point. Is that right?
I don't
You
remember
did.
how.
You had to get your license. You went to what was that city? Like the sucky version of Vegas. Was that place?
No, that's later.
That's later.
That's later, yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember how. I think Formula D at that point was still in that stage where anyone could do it.
Okay.
You had to just...
No, there was
you had to
something
buy
because
your
Nadine,
There's
license.
a qualifier.
Nadine
I
had
think
to
it was San
qualify
Diego.
for in 05.
It
so
might have been RSR then. To
okay.
be quite honest, I can't remember.
That got you in.
Yeah.
But I remember getting my license. Like all that and paying to go in. And I don't remember how, but I somehow got connected with, because Ryan Hampton had driven that car.
Yeah.
You remember Ryan Hampton?
Yeah.
Somehow I met him for something, I don't remember, but he connected me with the owner of that car, and that's how I got connected with that. Miata, like it kind of made sense. But yeah, so that was my first Formula D experience, was that Road Atlanta, which was just, again, like out of my mind the entire time. Because I think that was the second year of it.
Yeah.
So I had already watched you guys do it the year before.
Yeah.
And you watched Benson, what he did.
It's okay. I did the same thing, I think.
Tell us what Benson did.
See, it's not bad.
Let's review. Let's review.
Yeah.
What Benson did.
I think, I almost went into the kitty litter.
Oh.
I almost did.
Okay.
Benson went in to
I
this
remember
kitty litter,
that
and
one.
he stayed there for
I went
a while.
in.
He went in.
I'm just, don't do it, Benson. Don't do it.
Yeah. That was like, dude, this is
it's
an awkward
fun.
15 minutes.
It's
like,
fun years
waiting.
later pulling out gravel from Atlanta from your car.
But that was a really interesting experience too, because that's when it was really getting serious at that point too, right?
Yeah.
Like people were getting full sponsorships. I mean, I'm a kid from Chicago, like getting this opportunity to drive this car, but I like buy a real helmet, like buy a real race suit, like all this stuff, and do this. And
same.
I didn't drive very well because it was different stage, butterflies. The car was also completely different than my car.
Yeah.
And I had the first time I got in and drove that car was at the event.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
And
not
so
setting you up very well.
no, but I mean,
I don't remember a single driver of that car doing well. It was just,
wasn't
I don't think
set
they had a
up
good
very
program,
well.
and they were kind of just throwing drivers in
Yeah.
at the last minute and not really setting them up to succeed.
Did they
in that
pay
car.
you to drive?
No, not at all.
No.
It was some marketing firm that was campaigning that car.
Yeah.
And then you drove Chicago as well, right? Was that the second?
Yeah, that's the one that
event?
Benson made me crash.
Okay, let's talk about that. So I was there driving. That was the furthest I've ever driven is Chicago. I did the Chicago event with you, and we were kind of like together in the grid.
Yep.
You guys want to talk about the course? Because I think the course was pretty daunting for people.
It was
at Soldier Field.
It was a Soldier Field, and
Yeah.
they set it up
In the parking lot.
with
a bunch of K-rails.
I mean, they set it up to be entertaining.
It was
right?
only K-rails. I don't remember.
It was only
only
K-rails.
It was only K-rails, yeah. And I was okay with the K-rails because RSR had been K-rail, if you remember, right?
Yes,
it was a lot more space.
Yes, but RSR had that big runoff area in that first corner. So if you went too wide, you can go too wide. Formula D was not that nice to you guys.
No, you initiate at the K-rail.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You initiate at the K-rail, and there is not going too wide because you go too wide and you go into the wall.
Yeah.
Which
and
I
remember
did
that.
I did just the previous FD event at Sonoma.
Yeah.
So I had big phobia of K-rails.
Yeah.
And I didn't, but I did after that. So
So tell us why. What happened?
Well, I just remember I had followed you most of the time because I think Benson...
Well, you didn't follow. You guys were lined up behind each other.
we were practicing.
But you didn't go out on the course together.
No.
Yeah. It was all spaced out.
But they did it in a time frame where like I would go out, the car behind would go out just as the other car initiated, right? To like keep it going.
Yeah.
And I had followed you, Nadine, for maybe 3 or 4 or 5. And it was nice because Benson, you and I were like, you'd help her and then...
Yeah. He was coaching us.
I was also like checking your tire pressures and stuff and, seeing where your head was at.
Yeah. And then I was getting used to just the cadence of where I wanted to initiate, kind of based on where Nadine was initiating. And like, it was just, I was getting the groove. And I remember I was like initiating really well, really aggressively. I was like super happy with where it was going. And then something happened and you had to pull off. I remember. And then in your place, Hiro Shimida pulled out. And that's, at that point, he was driving the JIC S15?
He
No, I'm
was in
sorry.
the Chaser by then.
Yeah, he was in the JZX 90.
Okay.
Yeah, he was in the JZX 90. And so he went and then they let me go right after him. But the movement of like everything is different from
the vibe, the energy,
like
vibe,
just the way
everything.
that the car moved and like it. I don't know why I was so fixated.
Oh,
but like the way I would drive behind Nadine, like I would go, I'd see her initiate, and then it like in my head I'd have the timing of when I wanted to initiate. But the way that the JZX chassis moved was just different, and I was just like, I don't know. I thought a little too long, like a half split second.
Were you taking
too
like a
long.
mental picture of the person driving in front of you? And...
Kind of. I don't know. but the way his car moved and the way that he drove was just a little bit different. Just enough that like I initiated too late, right?
Oh.
But you said it was Benson's fault.
No.
So what did he say to you that really
It's on record.
I don't remember. No, I'm just joking.
No, you should remember.
Oh, he's just like, just go. You'll do it. Just initiate later and faster, right? So
I said initiate late. Oh,
because
were you initiating too early?
I was initiating too early, and at the driver's meeting, there was this big push. I remember of like, let's put on a show. Like, let's get close to the wall. Like, let's show people what professional drifting is all about.
Yeah.
And here I am in this Miata amongst and I'm like, I'm going to show these people what I can do, right?
Yeah.
But I was being timid because it was new. It was different, right? And then you were like,
I remember working with you. I was like, just work your way up to the point where you want to initiate, and don't do it from run one. I do remember that.
So he was very zen and helpful at RSR. Here he was just like, just do it.
And you're like, I'll do it. Wait, too hard.
Yeah. But no. So
what happened?
Why'd you just initiated too late. Got really aggressive because I was getting really close to the wall. Like I remember the 2 or 3 runs before that, I was like when you initiate and it's that true drifting time where there's like a couple seconds where you're like, I don't actually know where the car is going to end up right now.
Yeah.
You know, and yet have that, and that would be perfect. I'm like, okay, this is what I want. Like I want that. I look like all 4 wheels are like, I don't know what I'm really doing, but then I catch it and come around perfectly, right?
Yeah.
I had done that like 2 or 3 times, right? And then just the different timing and then everything just kind of threw me off that time. And it was just, honestly, like so many crashes, it's you initiate a split second too late, right?
Yeah.
And so, and that course, like you said, there was no real margin for error. So, I mean, luckily, I hit the wall. It wasn't like the car was totally demolished. But the problem with the Miata at that time too, because had I been in a 240, I could have been back on that course, right? There would have been 30 people that had parts. That they could help me. There was no one like, so the left got hit, the lower control arm and upper control arm got bent. Actually, the arm was fine. It was the rod that goes through because it's a double wish one in the back.
Yeah.
That rod got bent. But like no one has
No one had one. Yeah.
Right. But if I had bent a control arm of an S13, like there'd be 15 people to have one, right? So it was out that day, unfortunately. But
you say it, you talk about it like it was such a small crash, but I have vivid memories of that crash photo.
Yeah.
And you have 4 tires up in the air.
Yeah, I mean,
you hit it pretty hard.
I hit it pretty hard,
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah. I'm just happy it wasn't. It's funny. I don't know if you and I always would talk about this, but like, there's Japanese crashes and American crashes. Where, like, there's Japanese damage and American damage.
Yeah.
And American damage is like understeering into the K rail.
Yeah.
I'm just happy it was Japanese.
It was
damage
not that.
where I'm like, I oversteered it.
You crashed like a man.
Yeah, right.
Damn. You mean you weren't going like this the whole time?
Yeah.
Oh no! That's the worst.
Right?
That's the worst. You're
with like
you're
locked
cranking
up.
and it's not
And then
helping.
everything's in slow motion. You're going.
You're like no.
And the front wheels are locked, and you're just going like this.
Slow mo.
Yeah. I'm just happy. But so that happened, and then I decided to take a little bit of a break from competitive driving, right?
Yeah.
But which I got back into later, but yeah, it was another really good experience for sure, just to be in that atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was a crazy event too, because that was Ryan Turk's debut, I remember. And
that's it.
That was his debut, and I just remember him killing it. And it's like one of those things.
He was good from day one.
You're just like, this guy's going to be really good.
He's going places.
Yeah. And I think that event. Who won that event?
I don't even remember, but
yeah,
I do remember Tyson Beckford, supermodel, crashing at that event.
That was good.
I remember that too.
The Mustang.
Yeah,
the Mustang. Do you remember what he did when he crashed the car? He totaled the car at that event.
Oh, he totaled it. Yeah.
Do you guys remember what he did?
No. What did he do?
So he just. Like, none of us ever had confidence in him when he was driving because it always looked like he was not ready for Formula D.
Yeah.
And so he went out there, smashed the car.
Yeah.
And then he got out of the car, took off his racing suit, and was just like...
Oh, super mad, right?
Well, no, he was just... he just
Super
had no
sexy.
shirt on.
Super sexy.
Like he just took it off. Like, oh, he's just like, I'm gonna play to my strengths now. He just took off his racing suit. Like no shirt on top, and he's just like walking across the whole racetrack, just like it doesn't matter if I crashed. I'm Tyson Beckford.
I think there's only 2 people that are like nude under their racing suit,
You're
right?
Weren't you supposed to wear Nomex?
Yeah. But there's 2 people that are nude always. It's Alex Pfeiffer and Tyson Beckford.
Yeah. Alex has his slippers on and nothing.
And his nipple ring.
Yeah.
That's it. It's good. It's good stuff. Shout out, Alex. Yeah.
But so you took a break, but it was good because where life took you after that break was pretty amazing. So
yeah, I mean, I took a break. I went back to school. I got back into school and took more. I got a minor in Japanese, which I still focus on the Japanese with the ultimate goal of getting to Japan at some point.
And scoring a Japanese wife.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the goal, right?
Yeah. Which you did.
I did. Yeah. So so it let me kind of. It was that perfect point where I was like, do I want to keep doing this or do I want, I would keep doing it, but do I want to pursue the professional route or do I not? And it was a nice break for me to say, I don't think I
remember
want
several conversations with you about just debating that topic.
Yeah. Because all I really wanted to do was drive.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty big difference. I mean, competitive circuit is, you don't drive that much, honestly.
Yeah.
Unless you have a fully backed program where you can go practice for a day or
by yourself.
But that I remember that Chicago day, I probably got 6 runs in or something.
Yeah.
Like that. So it wasn't fun, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't what
I don't know if I was the
right?
best person to talk to about it either, because I had just stopped professional drifting and I was kind of I felt.
But you drove a whole season.
I did, but I felt a little burned by the experience.
Your car.
Yeah.
And so I kind of gave you that perspective of things, just that's not worth it.
Also, it's all your fault. It helped, Rob's not a pro drifter.
Yeah.
Damn.
Always
stunted your growth.
No. No, but it was good because I think I realized, the amount of money people put into that.
So much.
Even now, for the return is very minimal.
Yeah.
But you get to drive and do what you love. So I'm not going to take away from them what they want to do. But it's just, I made a decision to go back to school.
And so what did you do instead?
No, I just went all in on clubfr and doing grassroots events and going to school and trying to do all that. I was just really focused on the driving and just having fun. Yeah. Right. And and then eventually, I remember at that time too was right when MSC challenges were really popular.
Yeah.
What are those?
Those were good.
So MSC Challenge in Japan was kind of that offshoot grassroots competition series that once a month, every couple of weeks, I remember I'd be glued to their website and they'd have just amazing photos and videos, and it was just really cool grassroots stuff. And so I wanted to do something like that. And so the timing really worked out because we had worked out some system. I remember we were still kind of half involved with 4AG and Naoki. And I started to again want to say, okay, how do I get back into competition? And it was 2 or 3 years. And it was okay, we need to host a series of events so you can get a license for Formula D. Because at that point, I remember that's when they had gone to, you need a license to do it. Right? It's okay, we have to host a series in Chicago so that at the end of the series, the top 3 people or 5 people get a license and they'll sanction it and all that stuff. So we got into those. So we had DDC competitions for a year. And I remember taking a step back from organization so I could drive. And then that's the year that culminated in the Pro-Am in Laughlin, Nevada.
Laughlin. Okay.
Laughlin, yeah. So that was a fun year, yeah. But that was the perfect time where, that's again where I made a decision where I wanted to either go or not go, and I didn't. And that's when I moved. Because I was fortunate and won that event somehow. There's amazing people driving there. And got my license, but
you worked hard for that event. I remember there were many one more times at that event. Right?
There were a lot, yeah.
And there was a crazy jump that
was a jump. That track was famous for that jump.
Yeah.
I remember, yeah. So
so that was well earned what you did there.
Yeah, but there were a lot of good drivers. Man. So I'm pretty lucky.
I'm just saying to make it out of that,
yeah,
winning first place with the jump, with all of the good drivers that you were driving against, that says a lot.
First time there, that was a big day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm lucky though that the tracks we had in Chicago too, I think really helped us and continue to help us drive close.
Yeah.
All of our tracks are really close. really, really tight.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm used to driving close to people.
Yeah.
So that really helps with tandem, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everyone jokes that Midwest can't get out of second gear, which is kind of true, but
yeah,
we're getting there. But no, that was a big turning point too, right? And so winning there, and then it was a kind of a fork in the road, right? I got my license for Formula D the following year, or I wanted to go to Japan, right? So I had to make that decision.
Yeah.
So yeah, and went to Japan, obviously. But
yeah.
So yeah, it was an interesting time too, but it was a really good event, Laughlin.
Yeah,
a lot of good people there.
Yeah,
really fortunate. Yeah,
but you were living the dream when you went to Japan.
Yeah. I mean, it was a lifelong dream of mine, or not lifelong, but after I got into it. But
I think a lot of people in the States were watching closely with what you were doing through your blog and through your YouTube channel, kind of just following your journey. And we all wished we were in your shoes.
Yeah,
doing what you're doing.
I'm lucky. I mean, I did a lot of cool things when I was in Japan.
Yeah.
And
tell us what you were doing in Japan. Like, how did you get there? Because you can't just move to Japan without a plan.
Yeah, I mean, so I was really lucky in that in college, the study abroad program that I did for a year, the last couple of months of that study abroad, as part of my college, they had a connected high school, and they wanted me to intern at the high school to teach English.
Yeah. And
so I did that for a few months, but got really good in with them and the principal. And they said, when you graduate this fall, reach out. We might have positions available. And they did. So it was nice. It was an easy transition. I didn't have to try too hard to get that job. But what was really nice was that I was directly hired by a school, which paid a little bit better.
Yeah. Didn't they also give you a place to stay?
No, they helped me find it.
Oh, okay.
But which helped, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, my transition there to teach English was really easy, but was just the superficial context for me to go and really just play with cars and go to the places that I want to be and drive the places I want to drive, because all these places were just holy grail.
You were in the Mecca.
Yeah, right.
For sure. What did you drive over there?
So
was it like you land, get your place, you're like, dude, I got to get a dope car? Like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really, really lucky. So the place that I lived, so I lived in Kyoto, or just outside of Kyoto, and I chose that because I wanted to force myself to learn the Japanese language, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to get stuck in Tokyo, which nothing against
Tokyo,
Tokyo,
lot of people
but
speak English.
Yeah, I just wanted to be forced, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And within like the first week of when I lived there, one of the people I met at my college was like, "Oh, you're into cars?" Like, I know a couple people into cars, and they introduced me to my really good friend. His name is Masa. We're still friends to this day. Changed my life in Japan, and I met him like the first week I was there, which was crazy. He's just super hardcore Corolla driver.
Yeah,
like sleeps 2 hours a night, goes to the mountain every night, drives for like 3 hours, goes home, sleeps, wakes up, goes to work, and then just repeats it. Right.
Yeah.
And so I lived in the middle of nowhere, and I didn't know it at the time when I chose it. I was like 5 minutes away from this really great mountain that everyone would go to.
Mm-hmm.
So I really got into that.
What was that mountain?
Oh man, I don't remember the mountain name, but at the top of the mountain was a country club called Kameoka Country Club, and so we would call that mountain Kamekan, and so we would go to Kamekan to drive, right? And quite a few people would go there too. I mean, that's where I met quite a few drivers. I mean, even like FD or not, like Formula D drivers would go there, right?
Mm. I don't remember that.
I mean, that's where I first met Takatori.
Oh, okay.
So Takatori,
D1
driver Takatori, who, if you remember, he drove a Safiro back in the day, like a Teal Safiro, and then he drove the R34, the Super Autobox R34 Skyline. So he would just show up randomly too. So it was a really cool spot. So yeah, I was there for maybe like 3 to 6 months, maybe until I bought a car, and I had a really good friend who had a red S15.
Yeah.
And he agreed to sell it to me on a payment plan because I couldn't afford it as like a...
How much was it?
Stupid cheap based on today's prices, right? I mean, I want to say it was probably like 15 grand. Maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean...
that's a lot back then.
Yeah,
that's
but I mean, it was a 99, and this was in 2007, 2008. So it was still a new car, right?
Yeah.
So I remember paying it off over like 2 years.
Yeah.
But just to have a red S15 spec R like I was
Dude,
Taniguchi.
Financed you? Like he
basically
just financed you? He's like, oh yeah, sure, no problem.
I mean, the good thing is because it's a small town, like I had known that guy for a while, and he knows where I live, and we're all friends.
And he's Yakuza. So
he was also a police officer.
Oh,
what the heck?
And so it was just like he's like, you can't really.
Yeah,
like you can't do anything.
Run from
like
me,
you know,
bro.
yeah, like I know where you live.
Yeah, you're that white guy living in Japan.
Yeah. So, but he knew how much it meant to me too, right? So he really helped me get that. So yeah, I mean, red S15 spec car, like I was living the Taniguchi life. I was like, okay, this is gonna be awesome, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I did that for a while, but I really quickly learned I absolutely hate right-hand drive.
I mean, you say that, but there are so many videos you're posting at Toge, like in-car footage of your S15, and like you are doing the stuff that we see Jesse Streeter doing, just like, you know, like barely rubbing your bumper on the guardrail and like taking up the whole road, and you know, even though it's narrow, you're drifting the whole thing. And
I mean, I got used to it, but it was never like, you know, when you drive and you just don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never got there.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing with that mountain that like I've posted videos on, I would go to that mountain every single night. Yeah.
Oh.
Like so I can
really had to fine tune.
Well, I can close my eyes and I can run it in my head right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was half like getting used to the car, but half just I knew that road like in my sleep, right?
Yeah.
Which you have to in those mountains, like how close it is, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just never comfortable in that car. It looked great. It was the car of dreams at that point, right? I mean, Model 5s, like, it looked great. Like, it was super fun. I mean, so refined. Like, S15 motor, S15 SR is amazing. Quiet and doesn't make weird noises. And I had AC, and, like, it was just this perfect car. I remember sitting in, you know, the line at Mahon, and, like, it's, like, super 100 degrees outside. I'm just in my AC. Like, I'm fine. But I just never got comfortable in that car. Yeah. So that's where Takatori came in, and I had met him a few times. And he had imported a left-hand drive 240 because at that time he was practicing for Formula D.
For Formula D, right.
Because was he driving for Retax? I can't remember who he was driving for.
I actually don't remember him ever driving a left-hand drive car.
He did for a season. Okay. It was like a V8 something.
Okay.
But he had imported and built that car to practice, right? And then for whatever reason, he decided to get out of it, and I was able to jump into it. And I remember I was like, I'm in Japan. I have all these crazy cars I could get.
And you're buying a 240.
And I'm buying a left-hand drive 240. Yeah. But it was the best decision that I had ever made because I could just drive and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I was lucky. I went to Ebisu 2 times.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to think about it. Like, I could just drive.
Yeah.
And not fight the car, because I was fighting the S15.
Yeah.
Like if I watch those videos now of S15, I can tell it's just not second nature. Whereas I jumped into that 240. I remember at Mahon one time he let me drive it. Yeah. And I just jumped in and just did the first corner like no problem.
Yeah.
Like it was your car. Right?
Yeah. And I was just like, okay, like I need a left-hand drive car.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna truly enjoy my driving time here, it doesn't matter what it looks like. A bunch of people were like, why are you buying that? It's so stupid. Like, what are you doing? It's like, no, I want to drive. Like, driving is the main reason, right?
Yeah.
So it was a really good experience. But so that's where I drove. Yeah.
And like you at Ebisu, you got to meet some cool people.
Oh man, so many cool people.
Yeah. Who are your 2 faves?
So I actually went 3 times. The first time I went was really cool. I went just to watch a Matsuri event. We drove 11 hours from Kyoto one day and came back.
Dang.
I was fortunate. We were at Ebisu Minami South Course, and I got a ride with Daigo at the time.
Okay.
And this was prime missile time.
Like, prime missile time. This is when he was kind of like leading the missile movement.
Yeah. The missile movement.
It's like I knew who he was because he had been driving that really big orange, JZX 100 for a while in D1, but he had never really climbed the ranks.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was really in prime missile, like.
As soon as he started doing the missile thing, he got so good.
Yeah.
So good.
So, I mean, I rode with him, Ebisu Minami, 2.5 JZ, 295s in the rear.
Yeah.
Jumping over the first turn. Yeah. It was just mind blowing, right?
Yeah.
Like, that was amazing. And then that was where I was like, I'm coming back to drive here. Like I have to do that, right?
Yeah.
And so went back, met so many cool people. I mean, we would pit up at North Course. Oh, is it North Course? No, we wouldn't pit at North Course. West Course. Shoot, now I'm forgetting now. But I would pit. I had met Alexi at that point a few times, and so we would pit together. He would always save my spot. Thanks, Alexi. I'd pit next to him the 2 times I went. But then I remember one time I was there. No, I came late, and Alexi was there, and then I pulled in here, but I didn't realize the pit next to me was Koguchi.
Yeah.
And he was in, I think he was in his wife's car. Do you guys remember
the silver one?
The silver
of course,
one?
I remember that car. That car is sick.
I almost like that car better than, I don't want to say his original one, but that had all
I will
his,
say I like it better than the green one.
I like it better than the green one.
Yeah.
Like he had his arrow on it, you know?
Yes.
Like his hood, his fenders, like it was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember too, like it was so vindicating because my 240, I mean, I didn't build it, but I made it look a little bit better how I wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember pulling in the pits and he was there and I got out and he came over, he's looking at it, he's just like, Kakuina.
Whoa.
And I was just like,
you're like, thanks.
Wow.
I was like, did Koguchi just tell me my car looks cool?
Wow. There's no arguing with that.
I was like,
if he says it's
now.
cool, it's cool.
Yeah.
Did you get on the ground and like?
I should.
Oh.
Yeah. But so we talked a few times here and there. You know, just I was super starstruck, and you know, I remember I wanted to buy one of his hoods at that time.
Yeah.
And I didn't end up doing it, but it was just really cool to. I mean, pit next to Koguchi, right?
Yeah.
And just see him driving out there, and and then that whole time, I mean, that's where I met Alexi. I mean, LA from Chicago, you know, LA from Chicago. I met him there for the first time.
Oh, really?
That's what he was stationed in Japan.
He didn't move yet.
Yeah, he was. That's where I met him.
What a trip. You meet him there.
Who else did I meet for the first time? Why am I forgetting his name? He works on your car. He lowered your car too low.
Yuta,
yeah. Sorry,
Yuta.
Yeah. So I met Yuta there at the same time. We were all like, it's just crazy who I met at this event. And then, but that was the same time where we drove G1 with Andy Gray.
And what is G1?
So G1 is G stands for Gaijin, which is foreigner.
Damn.
Yeah. But I mean, it was put together by, yes, I am. By the Power Vehicles guys, Andy, to just have a little competition for all the foreigners who came for that event. I mean, when you go to Drift Matsuri Ebisu, it's like 90% like Australian, New Zealand, like it's super foreign, right? But so he put together this event to a competition, which was really cool. So I got to drive that, which was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
But even there, I mean, I met Andy, it was judged by Kumakobo and, who else was it judged by?
Suinaga?
Yeah, Suinaga. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was judged by Suinaga. So, and just met some really cool people there. I mean, I got to drive with Andy, in the final top 4s, I think I drove with Andy.
Yeah.
He beat me. I mean, but it's Andy.
It's Andy. I mean, what are you going to do?
He lives at Ebisu. Like, if I beat Andy and
his cars have always been good, too.
Andy who? You guys got to clarify.
Sorry, Andy Gray. Andy Gray of Power Group. I mean, he lives on track, right? So
he lives on track.
So it was a really good battle. I remember too, but I remember I ran out of gas. I remember
what
it was. I remember transitioning in the car down. I'm like, I don't have gas because the gas was really far, and it was like you kept going.
Yeah,
and I didn't think I would get that far in the competition.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun though. But just met so many cool people while there.
Mm-hmm.
Stay in touch with a lot of them too. But yeah, it was a really, really cool time. And I think just so lucky to be there at that time.
Yeah, you were in the mecca, the hub.
Yeah.
How long was that? How long were you in Japan?
Well, 4.5 or 5 years. Yeah.
And then it ended.
Yeah, then it ended. Which is probably good, I would say, to be quite honest with you. I mean, so we moved to Hawaii. My girlfriend at the time, now wife. I mean, I realized at that point, that was a time when I was spending every dollar, every waking minute on cars.
But
you were addicted.
You were I
dream.
remember you were very well aware that you knew that like this might be my only chance I can do this.
Yeah.
I can live selfishly. I remember you had some other things going on in your life and you gave it all up so that you can be selfish.
Yep.
You can take life by its reins and just, you know, like do what you've always wanted to do, regardless of what else was happening. And this was your time to experience.
Yeah,
what
there's
you
no
wanted to
regrets
experience.
at all. There's no regrets. But I could see, like, if I was still there today, I would probably be doing the same thing, which is fine. I wouldn't have two beautiful daughters.
You'd be a lonely driver.
Lonely driver.
I'd be broke. I'd probably be happy driving, but you know, it'd be a different lifestyle, right?
Yeah, totally.
So it was a really good time for me to take a break.
Yeah.
Go to Hawaii, which was almost nice because it was like cold turkey, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
there's no drifting there.
Hawaii was dead by that point, right? Unfortunately. And so it just forced me to just kind of focus on other things.
Mm-hmm.
But I was still connected, obviously. You know, we would talk a lot. I was connected with clubfr stuff. I would go back and forth for events and stuff like that to just be around. So, but it was nice to let me focus my life in a different area. Mm-hmm. And, you know, do some things I've always wanted to do, like have a family, get married, have kids, you know, that I want to do. So it was really good for me. But at the same time, there was a lot of withdrawal. Like, I mean, talk to a cigarette smoker who goes cold turkey. Like, it's hard, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's something inside of us, all of us in this culture is just, I can't get it out, right? I can't just stop looking at cars or watching drifting videos or it's just part of me.
It's always going to be a part of you. I feel like it's just a lifestyle that we, you know.
You said, like, you made that comparison with the cigarette smoker, and you're not like you wouldn't be a typical cigarette smoker. You're like one of those people that go like seriously through withdrawal, and you're like always thinking about it. And, you know, even though I honestly, I don't know how you've gone this long without getting a drift car.
I don't know either. I mean, I'm on one hand, I'm definitely cheap too. Like, I don't know if that comes with having kids or whatever.
I don't think you're
but
cheap. You're just spending your money in the most meaningful way.
I mean, you're learning to be responsible. You're learning that your financial decisions don't only impact yourself now.
It's true.
And I know you feel an immense amount of guilt, like other people, like Damon, who, you know, should I sell my car this week? Maybe I'll sell it next week.
We talk about that too. Yeah. Shout out Damon. Yeah.
But I mean, you arrived here at the studio.
Yeah.
And we're talking because like I made Rob park in the back, like away. And like the rest of us are parked in the front with like our nice, like fixed up cars. And, you know, they're driftable, right? And then Rob rolls up and we're like, oh, you can park over there. So like, I'm like, Rob, when are you going to be able to come and like park with us? So,
I mean, it's, for me, it'll happen. I just think it has to be the right time, the right thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've all talked about this. I mean, the prices of things that we took for granted almost
so sad.
Are crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So to get in it these days just doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't know how people do it these days.
I don't either. I mean, they're just spending a lot more money than we did.
And because that's in my head, it's like, this should cost X.
Yeah.
You know, I think things change. It's just, it makes it harder to make that jump. Right?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you told me you're going to get a Miata, so I don't know what you're saying.
I just keep getting drawn back to them. Like, I've driven a lot of cars. My own, you know, I always got a lot of crap because I wouldn't be bashful at drift days, like jumping in other cars.
Yeah.
I mean, like getting in Simba's car. I think I broke Simba's car like 2 or 3 times.
Oh my God.
Sorry,
let me show you what your car can do.
But I was never bashful at getting in cars.
Yeah.
You know, I really wanted to get in. So, but Miata it always felt like home for me. Like, it just did what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. And again, I was never big angle kind of driver. It just fit my style. So it's just home. Yeah. So I hope I can get into one again.
Which one?
It'd be fun. Another MB, second generation.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Just kind of boring because I should probably do something different. Maybe
get a newer one.
But they're like 40 grand or 35 grand. I don't know.
Yeah,
they're a lot.
Yeah, but
maybe we can help you find one. Get you back in.
But you know, I know one day it'll happen.
But I mean, let's go to today. I mean, you're still involved.
Yeah.
And tell us like how you're still involved with things today.
I mean, I'm definitely not as involved as I have been. You know, clubfr is kind of running outside of me. I mean, I stepped back quite a while ago. You know, Phil and and John Kim and Simba and a host of other people that I actually don't really know because I've been away so long, keeping it running. I mean, I think it's crazy. I think next year we're gonna hit Drift Day 100.
Wow,
which is
that's awesome,
crazy. Like to think about.
Well, think about it like this also. Original Drift Day, never got that far.
I was wondering do you remember how?
I don't know how far I got,
go?
but
I don't know.
It definitely stopped a long time ago.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we're well over 100 if you count all of the like offshoots that we've done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see, and I want to get more involved now that I'm back here in California, and it's easier for me to get to Chicago and get to these things. Just to show up and just see what's going on again.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to be part of it again a little bit would be really, really cool. But I think we're involved in it almost like on a worldwide scale too. Cause it's really cool because I come here and I see you guys, or I go to Texas. I went to Texas for work and I can meet people through the community.
Yeah.
I went to New Zealand for work and I see Keske and I meet like
I didn't know you met up with Keske.
Yeah, I mean it's just the whole thing is it's all connected and we stay interacting together on the internet.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So I can go around the world and meet all these people because of this. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so fortunate, right? Everyone's really cool. And so it's
all your internet friends.
Yeah, right?
Oh my God.
But we're all connected and we all kind of know our stories, and it's just a really cool, tight-knit community even though it's worldwide.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then just to keep tabs on all the events that are going on, the grassroots stuff is really fun.
Yeah.
And then but for Chicago itself, just to see where it's come and where it keeps going, I think is really cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Going on strong.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's finish up by telling us your thoughts on drifting today. What are your thoughts?
Drifting today. I have immense admiration for the guys that drive now. Like we said earlier, I couldn't drive at that level. How they drive, what they drive.
Yeah.
I couldn't hang.
The grassroots dedication, level of dedication is so much higher than what we were doing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, all these guys, they spend so much money.
Yeah.
And that's almost what's crazy to me is how much money they spend. Because for us, it was expensive, but it wasn't like as crazy. I feel
like we could eat still.
Yeah.
Like we can go to Hat,
Yeah. And it's just a natural progression of what drifting is. I mean, I think because it is more expensive, I think some of the style maybe is a little bit different. Whereas you can't spend as much money on making the car look as good because you're going to drive as hard.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting kind of conundrum, right?
Yeah.
If I could drive like guys drive now, my car probably wouldn't have been as cool looking because I wouldn't have been able to because I know I'm just going to mess it up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Unless you learned how to paint and then do it all yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't really follow professional drifting too much anymore. It's just not what I'm into.
Yeah.
Let's
stick to grassroots.
Yeah. Grassroots stuff I think is still awesome. I think there's a lot of great guys doing cool things with grassroots, driving for just the love of driving.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's going to keep the scene going.
Yeah.
Pro stuff will always be there, but it's not accessible for 99% of the people who actually want to drive.
Yep.
So I just think people need to find that new platform as well. Because 240s, Corollas, the standard platforms are just super expensive now.
Yep.
So it's finding those new platforms that are a little bit more accessible to keep it going, that are accessible to people who are just getting into it.
Yeah.
Because I think the really cool thing when we were starting was you could get 240s and such for fairly cheap, but that's RX-8s were new. We had a lot of people with RX-8s. It was still a thing you could get into.
Yeah.
It's finding those platforms. And I know Toyota's doing that a lot with their platforms.
What's your fave new platform? Newish. Doesn't need to be platform. Like 24, but 23. It could be like 2000s.
Oh, 2000s is pretty old too, right?
I know, right? My gosh, this is 2023.
Is this something that I can get here or can't get here?
You can get here. Yeah, in the US.
In the US.
Somewhere in the US you can still get it.
Oh. Well, I've always been a JZX fan. I could technically get it in other states,
He's
right?
Cheating.
Yeah.
He's cheating.
Am I cheating?
You're cheating. US
domestically,
market.
you can get it
domestically.
Yeah.
Man, I've always really wanted to get a really good S14.
Mm.
I mean, it's not new though. I don't know if that doesn't really answer your question.
That's not new.
Right?
That's 98, bro.
Yeah, sorry,
no.
bro. Newer.
I tried the IS300 thing, and I wasn't really into it.
Not for everyone.
Did you ever drift it?
No.
Never. Not once did you have the itch to get it sideways.
You owned one and you didn't drift it?
It was the Sport Cross wagon automatic,
Still.
Dang.
I was in Hawaii.
You changed.
I mean, that doesn't really matter. You can go sample.
I don't want to
learn that one.
I didn't sample.
No sample for you.
I didn't go tantalus and sample. No.
Dang. Okay.
But no, I don't. I think newer stuff. There's a lot of good potential out there. It's just it's so much harder to do with all these new cars. I think.
Yeah,
there's
a lot
new
of
challenges.
Things you got to override. Yeah.
Elmar, we talked about it like the, electric steering now, and just like whole new challenges of kind of hurdles and making it feel like it should feel, at least how we should. How we think
it's
should
just
feel,
not going to feel like an S13, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
right.
well, we just watched that video. Is it a Keiichi video where he was driving the Hellcat?
Oh yeah.
And he couldn't figure it out because he didn't know how to override everything.
Disable the traction control.
But I think it's fun too. I mean, you see, like, there's an insurgence now of like C4 Corvettes.
Yeah.
C4, C5 Corvette.
I don't know which one it is.
I think it's C5.
I don't know.
I'm a fan. I never thought I would say that, but those cars when they are modified with some Japanese flair, man, they look
that's
really
a girl
good.
car. That's a girl car, just like a 240.
It's like a Barbie car.
I feel like that's a Barbie car.
Yeah.
I might.
Oh, just like a Miata.
Oh yeah, like a Miata.
I've dealt with that my entire life, but I made it work. You
did make.
Yeah.
I do have to say, we didn't talk about it, but your Miata looked really good with those the two-piece SSRs.
Yep.
It's funny. I always get a lot of comments on how much people enjoyed the style of my car.
Yeah, and what those were 16s, right?
16, yeah.
And Bring it back.
If you told me that you'd put 16-inch SSR on a NB Miata and it would look good, I'd be like, no, it doesn't. It looked great.
I mean, but that was back when I was pushing the envelope on the fitment too, right? Like, I remember math like crazy. I mean, 16 by 8 in the front, 16 by 9 plus 13 in the back, which is effective 16.80. Like, I did so much math, and I bought those when I was in Japan because it was the only place I could get the offsets I wanted.
Yeah.
But I got so much feedback on how the car looked and how I had great style, and I'm like, all the car was OEM lip kit.
Yeah.
Lower, like really low,
lowered with
on
wheels.
those wheels. Like that was it.
That's it.
But that's all that's all you needed for that swag.
That's I mean, and that car. I mean, that was all I could really do with that car too, right?
No, but that's the charm of it. Is that that's it.
It's a little bothersome to me that no one's really come close, for me at least, in the US. And for how simple it was.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really cool from the Miata perspective. I mean, we had a really cool community with that. My roadster drift community was.
We didn't
really
talk
cool.
about your website, Roadster Drift, but it brings together Miata enthusiasts around. I mean, I could only vouch for people around the country, but
I mean, we had international people, but it was in its heyday. It was really, really good. And I think we had a really.
You
cool
were like
community.
the source of Miata drifting information.
Yeah, it was great. We had it all on that website, right?
Yeah.
And a lot came out of that. I mean, so many people still drive Miatas, but I mean, that's where I first got connected with like Chelsea DeNofa.
Yeah.
I mean, he started in a Miata, right? And there's so many people connected from that website too. But I think to see where drifting in that platform has gone in the past 20 years too is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And to have been there in the beginning of that, to push it forward a bit was really cool to show that it could be possible.
Yeah.
Which was really fun. So, because it was, I mean, everyone was in a 240, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I hope you get to bring it back.
Yeah. I don't know if I can do it justice too. That's the thing that pulls me back and forth, right? Is I can't do it like I did.
You don't need to, because look at what Kazama's doing, right? Aren't you
True.
so happy that he's in a green S15? It doesn't matter if he's doing good or not. Like, you're just happy to see that.
He's in it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can relaunch your website like roadsterdrift2.com.
We're going to have to fix that.
Yeah. Got hacked like 10 years ago, and I've kind of not.
Benson will get you.
I'll help you fix it.
Yeah.
We'll
Benson
fix
will
that.
help you.
Yeah.
He's the web whiz.
Yeah, I'm not, but we'll help. We'll get it.
We'll
get
figure
it
it out. He'll let his people help you.
Yeah.
But that was a cool community. So it was a good time.
Yeah.
Love it.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, let's close up this episode. Rob, it's been a pleasure. Just like spending. We've known each other for so long. We've never spent this time just like rehashing the past and talking about all the cool things that you did. And it's so cool hearing it. And as someone who came from Chicago, someone who not a place that was known for its contributions to drifting, it is now something completely different. And to see how far you come and to see how much you've done for all of us who are watching you and wishing we were able to do what you were doing. And now in fact, you see a lot of people doing what you're doing now. But you've done a lot of really cool things, and you've done so much for the drifting community in the Midwest, and to grow drifting culture there and help it to progress to what it is today, which is, today it's a trendsetter, with what Final Bout is doing. And, just also to see you progress as an adult, as a human being, and getting married and having kids and having a beautiful family and learning how to be a father. Like it's great to just see how far we've both come together in parallel.
Definitely. And
I'm just so happy for you, and I'm glad that we can spend this time to give you your flowers for what you've done.
Thank you.
And just to let you know that I appreciate you as a friend, and appreciate all the things that we've shared together. And now that you're back in LA, that we can make more memories together and continue doing what we've been doing all these years. So
new drift memories together.
Yeah.
Cheers to that.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And I echo everything you're saying. It's so good to be here, and I appreciate everything, all the help. Helping me move to LA.
Yeah.
Helping me find our first place in LA.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I echo that. And our friendship is long. It's been 20 something years, guys.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's pretty awesome.
dating us.
So I really appreciate being here. And thank you guys for everything you've done to help us in the Midwest. Push along. So thank you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right. Cheers to more years of friendship.
Kampai.
Internet friends.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Salady Mania Podcast Season 2, brought to you by Falcon Tires, produced by Benson Sue and Nadine Sue, audio and video engineering by Mark Mondoy, graphic design and motion graphics by Steve Nakamura. Got a question or comment for us? Call or text us on our hotline at 323-607-6075, and maybe you can be featured on a future episode. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you download your podcasts.